God, aliens, and humans. And the whole thing about this is really still about the government of this world. All right. Now, some of the methodologies we are going to be using, which I want us to see, and like I said, it's like a paper, is that we are not going to be limited to just the Bible. So this is going to cut across religion, archaeology, science. We are also going to even be looking at some modern interpretations of some things. And the idea is that for us to be able to have rounded understanding and even also have evidence. So 12 years ago, I was in a particular Pentecostal church. The AC was pumping, fantastic, the music on point, you know, and I heard God say to me, the battle for the souls of men and for world domination is intense, and my children are my only hope. And I paused and I was like, okay, Lord. He said it again, he said it twice. And I said, the battle for the souls of men, I understand that that's the devil. Which one is world domination? So, who are the first extraterrestrial we have looked at? Anunnaki. Who are the second? Watchers. Who are the third? Lucifer. Fourth? Draco Reptilian. And they are all what? They are all extraterrestrial. We're going to be looking at how all of them link. Alright? Now, there is something they all have in common, which I want us to see. The first thing they have in common is that they are all not in code from this planet. Is that true? Lucifer, Watchers, Draco Reptilian, Anunnaki, they are all not from where? They are not from this planet. They are also all advanced. Is that true or false? Meaning their technology is more advanced than all the human technology, right? Is that a common thing we have seen there? We also see that for most of them, there is something about reproduction or creation of humans. Now I want us to look at this comparative anatomy. Now please watch this. The first one here, this is what a snake's skeleton looks like. The skull of a snake. Can we see it? Now in the middle is a normal human skull. Is there a difference? Now look at this skull. What does this skull look like? A normal human skull? What does it look more like? It looks more like what? Like a snake, Abi. Now, if we were to interpret something that looks like this and something that looks like this, will it look like this? Now look at this. So now we are going to the modern conspiracy theory people, right? And we are now going to be seeing what they say about these Draco Reptilians. Now, this man, I'm about to play his video. He's very credible. Now, I want to give some info about this man called William Bill Thompson. He's dead at the moment. He died in 2017. In fact, one of the guys also that worked for him was killed because he wanted to reveal some information. This man has worked with NASA. This man has worked with the US Navy. In fact, since he was a teenager, he was selected into some places where it's only people who they believe can keep secrecy that have seen these things.
Okay, they were parked around the side of the crater. Okay, they were not parked on it; they were floating above it. So there were hundreds of these 9-foot reptilian guys standing with their legs.
Hundreds.
Yeah, they were all the way across the underneath their vehicles, standing on the crater.
And what did they look like?
They're ugly looking, lizard, alligator type people. They've got the same skin as the lizards got, okay? And terrible looking faces. But then they have the ability to shift and look like a human.
Remember that even when I showed us this first picture in one of our series, when I said former earth rulers, I told us that this is closer to what the devil really looks like. Can we remember? But he says they can shift and look like humans. So, are we to some degree, even from the Bible, proving that the devil looks like a Draco Reptilian? Have we proven that? Okay, let's go on. Tough, it's not preaching at all. I even foresee that some of this might even become papers or stuff that will be shared, across the world as time goes by. I want to say that what I want to share with us is not something I just thought of. It's not something that I just started knowing. I've known this now for a minimum of about 13 to 14 years. God first shared this with me when he gave me the hint. It was a particular word, and I like to share it many times, and maybe for the context of this I should still share it again. So 12 years ago I was in a particular Pentecostal church. The AC was pumping, fantastic, the music on point, and I heard God say to me, the battle for the souls of men and for world domination is intense, and my children are my only hope. And I paused and I was like, okay, Lord. He said it again, he said it twice. And I said, the battle for the souls of men, I understand that that's the devil. Which one is world domination? And you saying your children are your only hope. And it led me into some of the things I'm going to share to you, and I will not lie to you. As at that time, I didn't have as much information as I have now. The information that he gave me just that day, I had literal goosebumps from my body because it was that weird. And it was since that time I knew that I had a calling in regards to this. In fact, I want to believe that one of the major reasons why God has put me on this planet is because of this particular mission. Every other thing I'm doing is probably to fund it and just to arm people to do this, but this really is my particular core assignment. So some of the things I'm going to be sharing with you, I want you to believe that it's not something I cooked up like I've said. It's something God opened me up to. I also went to do a lot of research, and because of the scientific mind I have, and also my upbringing, for those who care to know, I actually studied anatomy in school, so there's something I did in anatomy also that will help even in what we are going to do today. This is the first time I'm seeing anatomy working in line with what I'm doing. All right, so let's go on. God, aliens, and humans. And the whole thing about this is really still about the government of this world. Now, some of the methodologies we are going to be using, which I want us to see, and like I said, it's like a paper, is that we are not going to be limited to just the Bible. So we are going to use the Bible. We are also going to attempt to use ancient texts. There are some texts that are even before the Bible, right? We are also going to be looking at the Book of Enoch, like, we've established that for some time. We are also going to be looking at some scientific findings. So this is going to cut across religion, archaeology, science. We are also going to even be looking at some modern interpretations of some things. And the idea is that for us to be able to have rounded understanding and even also have evidence, and there's something they say in Nigeria right now, say if evidence no day, you go explain tire. So for us to be able to have, so this particular teaching or this particular exposition is going to be beyond just for Christians. So even if you are a human being, you will find it helpful. Even if you are just a historical person, you will find this helpful. If you have scientific mind, you will find this helpful. If you have always also been wondering, oh God, aliens, you will find this very helpful. The idea is that we are going to have like a holistic view, and we'll be able to come to some inferences that even if you are going to put this in a court or you are going to stand before professors or whatever, they cannot argue some of the facts that we are going to be sharing today. Do we get it? All right, so let's go on. So for this to happen, which is also what is done in the scientific industry or places outside of church or religious setting, is that you have to establish your sources. So if you say, oh, this happened, what is your source? They will ask you, what is your source? What is your reference? So one of the things we are going to do first and foremost is to establish our sources to see if they are credible sources. Is that good? It might get a bit spooky, but it's a fact, right? The intention of this is to show you the seriousness of what is really going on, and to show you how this is bigger than just church. This is bigger than just Christianity. All right? So let's establish our sources. So our first source is one of the oldest tablets ever found. It's called the Sumerian tablets. Now, these Sumerian tablets, there are many reasons why people believe, even in archaeology and in science, why they believe a lot of what is in here. Now, this Sumerian text is 3,000 years even before Genesis was written. Oh, does somebody understand? So this was written 3,000 years before Genesis was written. In fact, this particular civilization was before the Egyptian civilization. They were 1,000 years. Do you hope you know what 1,000 years is? That's a millennium. Do you know what 3,000 is? That's 3,000, right? So this Sumerian text is one of the most early accounts of human history ever found. Now, and one of the reasons why you cannot doubt what is in here is that there are a lot of collaborative stories that cut across many other places. In fact, the story of the flood is found here. The story of Genesis is found here, though it's in a very different format. Do we get it? And why this is so profound is that even something science are finding out, these people, and in their tablets were already written. In fact, they are written that in this our solar planet, they said we had 12 planets, even before we knew anything about archaeology. And if you count the ones that have been found and you include the sun and the moon, it's actually 12. That's how accurate these guys are. So there are stories that are here, there are things that they wrote, that they documented based on, you know, what they experienced at that time, and we are going to be using it as one of our sources. Do we get that? All right. Another source we are going to be looking at, of course, is the Bible. And arguably, the Bible has over 5,000 collaborative other evidences. The Bible also is something that is well established. A lot of people believe also in it, including myself. The manuscripts cut across ethnicity. You know, there's history in it. There are things that happened in it. There are a whole lot of things. So beyond you just looking at the Bible, you know, like I like to say, the Bible contains the Word of God. There are events, there are historical things beyond just what God said that are in the Bible. All right. So what did I say is our first source? What's our first source? The Sumerian text, which is, you know, older, before the Bible. And what's our second source? Second one will be the Bible. And the third is going to be the Book of Enoch, right? And the Book of Enoch, of course, is even accepted even by the Jews, and even the Bible quotes from the Book of Enoch, right? So we have the Sumerian text, we also have the Bible, and then we have the Book of Enoch. And lastly, for our modern times, we are going to be having some people I like to call whistleblowers. You know what whistleblowers are? People who have seen things. And now, the credibility, you know, sometimes you hear people say stuff like conspiracy theory. Now, when you hear conspiracy theory, it's only a conspiracy if the people who are saying it are not authorities. If they are not well-established people. If they are not people who have evidence to show, or if track record. Because anybody can wake up anytime and just say anything. So these people, the people we are going to be using as some of our sources, are credible people. Are people who are really involved in those things for them to be able to say it. Somebody who has never worked with the president before, if he comes and starts saying he knows something about the president, won't you find it suspicious? Because he was never in that field, or he's not even in the, let's say he says he wants to talk about the president of Nigeria and he's in Mali, and it's not even Buhari we are talking about, we are talking about Adekunle. All right, so don't forget we are talking about God, aliens, and what? And humans. So the first set of people we are going to be looking at are these folks called the Anunnaki. Now, amongst historians, archaeologians, and even the scientific community, Christians might not know who Anunnaki are, but they know who they are. So I want to help you and just define who Anunnaki are. Now, the source from where we are getting this Anunnaki is from the Sumerian text, right? And according to the Sumerian text, they claim that this world, right, or humans were actually created by the Anunnaki. In fact, they believe that their ancestors and that their deities came from another planet called Nibiru, right? And that they came to this planet in search of gold because they wanted to take some of the gold from our atmosphere, from here, and help rebuild their atmosphere. And I'm going to be revealing some of their pantheon gods to us. And trust me, I will not mention anyone that is not relevant to our discussion. So according to them, the people who created humans are a set of people called the Anunnaki. Are we getting it? Are we getting it? All right? Please don't forget. Now, they now have some of their pantheon gods. Now, the one you see in the middle is who they believe is the god of heaven, and is called Anu. Who Yorubas can even call Anu, who knows? So Anu, they believe he's the god, he's the father god, the deity god, who we can refer to as Elohim, right? They believe also he's the creator of other lesser gods. So there are many other gods, but the ones we are going to focus on, there is one on the left. Is this left or right? Which one is? Enki is on what side? Yes, on your left, okay? So there is a god called Enki. And this Enki is a trickster god. And in fact, according to the Sumerian text, he was the one that gave humans knowledge. And there is now another pantheon god called Enlil. And they believe that those ones, they were supposed to be watching over the earth and they had control over the earth. They were like giving reports to God. Is this sounding familiar somehow? You will see the links one way or the other. So we have the God who created the earth, who created the other gods, who is Anu. We now have Enki, who is the trickster god who they claim taught human beings knowledge. We also have Enlil, and they believe that Enlil were also involved in the creation of human beings. And according to them, the reason why human beings were created, they created human beings as slaves, so that they could do their work. They could do their work of mining gold, and that's the reason why they created human beings. So don't miss out. There's an Anu guy who is the father of heaven. There's an Enki who is a trickster god and who taught human beings what? Who taught human beings knowledge. There's Enlil, who also they claim is involved or were involved in the creation of human beings, and they also are responsible for earth, and they also kind of like give reports. Alright? Now, there is a tale about them that mentions them in the Sumerian text, and I just want to read this. It says here, according to the Ashra-Hashis epic, it's one of the stories in the Sumerian text. It says that then Anu, are you seeing Anu there? Then Anu, Enlil, Enki, and Nimhu's son. So that Nimhu's son is the female goddess who they believed, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to go into that. They said they decreed the fate of the Anunnaki, which are the others, right? The others that were created also. It says, and they caused a rain of flood from heaven. A gift of Anu showered down. Now, according to them, the flood was caused because they said the human beings that the Enlil created, their noise was too much. According to them, they said the noise was too much. So the gods decided that they were going to flush them or reduce their population. Are you getting the gist? But are you seeing some similarities somehow? And according to them, it was one of Enki now went and found a guy who happens to be their own Noah and told him to build a boat so that he can preserve some people. Alright, but let's go on. Now, we have established the first people. Who are the first people? And what? Anunnaki. Now, there is a second set of people, and these people now are the guys we are used to watching in the academy, called the Watchers. And the sources of their story, we can find it in the Bible, and we can also find it in the Book of Enoch. Now, for those who don't know, if you look at Genesis chapter 6, it talks about after women were born or females were born, that the sons of God looked down and they saw that they were beautiful ones, and they took them as wives. Now, one of the things these guys did, which they are responsible for, according to the Book of Enoch, is that not only did they interbreed with human beings, they are also responsible for teaching human beings certain knowledge. Are you seeing some correlation? So there is something also about creation of humans somehow. Are you seeing it? And there is also teaching of knowledge. Could this be a coincidence? That they took wives and they chose for themselves, and they began to approach the women. They did as they pleased with them, and they gave them to different kind of human beings and food. Now there's also another guy who I want us to look at, who is Lucifer, right? And Lucifer, his main source, where we find his source, is what in the Bible, the one known as Satan. Now, in his own case, we are introduced to him in Genesis as somebody that teaches, as somebody who is also crafty, and not really teaches, he deceives. In this case, he deceives what? Humans. Are we getting the point? And of course, now, it's important, I think I forgot to say this, all the people we have looked at so far are all extraterrestrial. They are not humans. True or false? So Anunnaki are not humans. The Watchers are not human. Now, Lucifer we are looking at is what? He's not human. Is that right? Now, even before we go on, are we seeing some relationship somehow? Are we seeing some relationship? Okay, let's go. So now, like I said about Satan, right? He went, he deceived Eve. He said, when if you eat of this tree that God says you should not eat, your eyes will be open. Alright? Now, the last set we are going to be establishing before we now look at how they are all relating is, according to modern times, there are these beings called Draco Reptilian aliens. So whenever you hear people say stuff about aliens in this our time and age, some of them you hear stuff like grace, you hear stuff like reptilians, Draco Reptilians. Now, these Draco Reptilians, they believe, according to modern conspiracy theories, as they say, they believe that there is a race of Draco Reptilians, right, that have already come to our planet and are involved in all our governments, right? And in fact, they do not even like us. They are involved in human sacrifice, they eat children, they do a whole lot of things, and that they are physical beings that can be seen. Just that they look like their real look is like dragon, like lizard, but they can shape shift and look like human beings. Are we together? So who are the first extraterrestrial we have looked at? Anunnaki. Who are the second? Watchers. Who are the third? Lucifer. Fourth, Draco Reptilian. And they are all what? They are all extraterrestrial. We're going to be looking at how all of them link. Alright? Now, there is something they all have in common, which I want us to see. The first thing they have in common is that they are all not, in quote, from this planet. Is that true? Lucifer, Watchers, Draco Reptilian, Anunnaki, they are all not from where? They are not from this planet. They are also all advanced. Is that true or false? Meaning their technology is more advanced than all the human technology, right? Is that a common thing we have seen there? We also see that for most of them, there is something about reproduction or creation of humans that seems to be linked with all these four. True or false? In fact, because according to Draco Reptilians also, they claim that they even take human beings, they do experiments on them, they even believe that this place is a lab, right? Another thing that is very interesting about most of these guys is that they also rebel. Because if you look at the Anunnaki, you see that there was a punishment when that epic story you read, where he said he sent a flood down. He said because their noise and whatever. So there seems to be a higher power that rebelled. That they seem to have angered or rebelled against. Oh, do we get? They also seem to have something about teaching human beings something. Are we still together? Is anyone here lost? And then there's another thing that is also common with all of them. They either have a mission to reduce our population, enslave us, and take over the earth. Do we get the point? Because if you look at it, if the Watchers decided to take human beings, what's that? And say let them have children first. What are they saying? They were slaves. If Anunnaki in their own mind, they said they created us as a workforce to be killing gold. What is that? Enslave humanity. Now, what is the devil's primary purpose? He wants to enslave humanity because he knows his time is up. Are you seeing some similarities? Then again, they also claim that the Anunnaki at a particular time also touched, as in modified our DNA to make us not live long. That's what the Sumerians believe. And in our own case, the Watchers in the Bible, after they mingled with human beings, did you notice what happened? God reduced. It says the number of years will now be 125 after these guys show up. Are you seeing some similarities? Now, another thing that is also very common about these guys is that this is a Sumerian description. In fact, what you are looking at here is over 8,000 years old. This stuff you are looking at right here. Now, if you look at this picture, you see that there is something that is huge, that is sitting down. So here, what you see here, these are supposed to be human beings. And this is supposed to be an Anunnaki or a ruler. So they believe that the Anunnaki were huge. And even their offspring also were what? Huge. And they were their ruler kings. Now, is there also a similarity that the Nephilim are also huge? The Bible records them as being men of renown. Records them as being very tall in stature. Giants. Are you seeing some similarities? I think I've already mentioned this. This is about, the Watchers. It says in Genesis chapter 6 and verse 4. It said, "Then the Lord said, my spirit will no longer contend with humans forever, for he is mortal, and his days will be..." This is when, like I said, that scripture I was talking about, when it says he reduced our lifespan, right? After this guy's intervention. It now says, and the sons of God went into the daughters of human beings and children, and bare children by them, and these are the heroes of old. Now, what this? It says, the Nephilim were on earth in those days, and also afterward. What does that mean? Before the flood, they were there. After the flood, they were still there. Now, there's something I want us to quickly, even though I'm not yet there, but I want us to quickly think about this. These beings we have mentioned so far, were they seen by human beings? Were they visible or invisible? All of them. The Anunnaki was seen by the Sumerians. They were seen by them. Right? What are the other guys I mentioned? The Watchers, were they seen by human beings? Yes. Were their offspring seen? Yes. Now, what about Lucifer? Was Lucifer seen by Eve? Was Eve a human being? Was she? Yes. The Draco Reptilian, which we are also going to be looking at, were they seen by people? Ladies and gentlemen, these guys are physical. They can be seen. They can what? They can be seen. That's even part of what gave me goosebumps. Because my theology before was that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. I always thought that the only people we wrestle against are things we cannot see. Until God gave me that word domination, I was like, hold on. Are we making sense? Hey, is somebody getting what I'm talking about? We are still talking about their giant size, right? We are talking about something they all had in common. They have giant size. Now, there is a story in 1 Samuel. And the background of this story was, if you remember, according to Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 8, it says, when the Most High apportioned the nation among and divided it amongst the gods. The next verse 13 says, and Israel was his portion, meaning that every other nation had gods who were their rulers, but for Israel, Israel's God was God, and he also was their king. Do you get the point? So, but these guys now say, we don't want you, God, as our king. We want a physical God we can see. If you start this 1 Samuel chapter 8 from the beginning, you find that conversation there. So now, listen to this conversation. It now says, nevertheless, the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel, and they said, nay, but we want a king, meaning a physical king, over us. And God said, Samuel should not worry. That is not Samuel they have rejected, because Samuel and his sons were the ones who are like the physical representations of what they could see. It's like it's not Samuel they've rejected, that is him they've rejected. They now say something, and this is where I want us to see something. He says that we also might be like the other nations. Who are the rulers of the other nations? Gods and their descendants, which are also big in what? Now look at what God now said. Okay, you people want something like the other nations, Abi. God now picks the tallest among them. You don't get the point. Oh, does somebody get it? If it was that you just wanted a king, he could pick anyone. But because what was about all those other nations were giants, so at least they have to look for the tallest among them. And this is why Saul was chosen. In fact, you can see this in 1 Samuel chapter 9 and verse 2. It says, and he had a son whose name was Saul, a choice young man and a godly man, and there was none among the children of Israel a godlier person than he. From his shoulders upward, he was higher than any other people. Meaning that there is nobody that was as tall as him. That's the meaning. Meaning that the tallest, maybe the second tallest in Israel will get to his shoulder. That's how tall the guy was. Why did they pick a tall guy? Because all their physical gods and kings they used to see were all huge giants. I'm taking us into history. I'm bringing us back. Are you still with me at the moment? Can we go on? Any questions at this point? Okay. So now we are going to the modern conspiracy theory people, right? And we are now going to be seeing what they say about these Draco Reptilians. Now, this man I'm about to play his video, he's very credible. Now, I want to give some info about this man called William Bill Thompson. He's dead at the moment. He died in 2017. In fact, one of the guys also that worked for him was killed because he wanted to reveal some information. This man has worked with NASA. This man has worked with with the US Navy. In fact, since he was a teenager, he was selected into some places where it's only people who they believe can keep secrecy that have seen these things. Now, you won't know what NASA is. NASA is, they are the ones that are responsible for space travel and other extraterrestrial whatever in America. Are we getting this? Right? So he worked with them as an engineer. So if this man is saying something, believe he's worked in some other places, but so those, if I mention those ones, you don't really know them. So I'm just mentioning the ones that are relevant. All right? Now, hear what this man had to say.
That reptilians and Draco, you know, the blood sacrifices, the whole Luciferian thing, the kids being killed and eaten. I mean, that humans have been eaten and taken off planet, etc., and used for slaves in other colonies, etc.
I hate to say that, but that's far worse than what you've just said.
It's far worse.
Yes, far worse.
Far worse, yeah.
And that the whole blood situation is it's unbelievable, and
right.
I don't know how we say that to the public. I don't know how. To me, if we get into that, and I know all about it, okay?
All right.
Far more than you know.
Sure,
all right?
I'm sure.
When we get into that, if we release it, 70-80% of everybody that listens to your program is going to say, you're smoking pot. I don't believe that, and I don't believe anything you people talk about on Extraterrestrial. And it's going to kill what disclosure is trying to do. That's my opinion.
You know the pedophilia is starting to be exposed everywhere. You know that much is coming
Oh,
out.
yeah. But you know the part that I don't want to talk about.
I hear you.
Okay?
Yeah. It saying as much as you said right now is actually great.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because you basically are, anyone who's hearing everything else you say is going to have to come to home with this. And if they want to know more, it's out there. It's more and more, it's out there.
Yeah, I want it all
Good
out.
for him. You want people to start to wake up. And we don't want to turn them off to any...
You just said it. We don't want them to be turned off. We don't want them to not believe what's being said. Okay?
I know, but
and this,
yeah,
and some, we can get into it partially, but I'm saying, I personally don't want to be involved in doing what Bob wants to do. It's too heavy. I think it's going to really hurt getting more people to get involved in this subject. Okay? They're going to say, Bill Tompkins is smoking pot. I don't believe one damn word. I don't want to hear about any of this. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about it.
My philosophy on this, which is humans are not protecting themselves. They're not protected. And so if you don't warn them, you're culpable. My statement is, you know, I care about the children and I want to protect the children. How can you protect the child? You must tell them. You must tell their parents what's happening, what's really going on this planet. And it's about time we humans are able to protect ourselves. You know, there's a lot of New Agers out there who want nothing but to believe that there's ETs, definitely, but they're all hearts and flowers and good guys.
Right. Yes.
And this is such a dangerous thing to put out there. I just wanted this statement made on my interview here, that the courage that it takes to actually do what you're doing right now is phenomenal. Really it is. See, I can get away with this because I'm a journalist and I can say anything and people will say, she's crazy, and just not listen. But someone with your stature, you know, with your reputation and your documentation and where you were and where you come from and all of that, this is substantial. I don't think people can ignore you. I don't think they can.
Well, I sure hope they don't, because frankly, we need help.
Yeah.
We need everybody involved in this. That's not a lie. We need help.
Yeah.
The Navy had been involved with the German facilities in Antarctica and the Draco Reptilian facilities in caverns in the Antarctica. And you have Draco Reptilian guys running your governments of every country on your planet.
Of every government. There you go.
Wow.
That's quite a statement.
I
Does that answer?
When we got to the moon, we found out a lot of surprises, okay? The Draco Reptilians were already there. And we knew because we had probes when we went, non-manned probes that we sent around the moon. So we knew there were facilities on the backside. We knew a whole lot that people didn't talk about. But we were in a position where this moon is not a moon, okay? It's not your moon in the first place. Actually, this is not your planet. This is their laboratory, okay?
Right. Okay, the Dracos, you mean, or the Reptilians?
Draco Reptilians / Reptilian. Okay, they were parked around the side of the crater, okay? They were not parked on it, they were floating above it. So there were hundreds of these 9-foot reptilian guys standing with their legs. Yeah, they were all the way across the underneath their vehicles, standing on the crater.
What do they look like?
They're ugly looking, lizard, alligator type people. They got the same skin as the lizards got, okay? And terrible looking faces. But then they have the ability to shift and look like a human. All of them do, okay?
I want to unmask something. He mentioned them as what? What did he say they look like? Lizard, reptile, crocodile, alligators. Now please watch this. All these guys, the four we have mentioned, in their true description, they all have reptilian looks. And I will show you. I will show you what. Watch this. This is the devil, right? Let's first start by saying in Genesis, what is he described as? Oh, somebody listen to me. Somebody follow me. What is he described as? What did Eve see? Eve saw a serpent, reptile. Now, think about this. The reptile, according to even Genesis, because even some of the things, they are metaphors. It says, on their belly shall I walk, meaning that it was standing erect. Oh, is somebody getting this? Now, what does the Bible also call Lucifer in Revelation chapter 12 and verse 9? If you don't mind, let's read together. What does it say? It says, and the great what? Dragon, yes, was thrown down, the serpent of old, Draco Reptilian. Draco is dragon. Reptilian is snake, serpent, crocodile. Those are reptiles. Remember that even when I showed us this first picture in one of our series, when I said former earth rulers, I told us that this is closer to what the devil really looks like. Can we remember? But he says they can shift and look like humans. So, are we to some degree, even from the Bible, proving that the devil looks like a Draco Reptilian? Have we proven that? Okay, let's go on. Now, look at the description of the Anunnaki. Those wings that you see, what do those wings look like? What kind of wings do they look like? They are like dragon wings. Now, this is where it now gets most interesting. On your right, this is what the watchers look like. In fact, if you go to all these old cathedrals, Gothic churches, you will see something called gargoyles. This is a statue you are looking at. They call them watchers. Hey, somebody has missed out on what I'm saying. If you look at all these old, in fact, you would have seen it even in some of all these movies that you watch, that you see all those big mansions. You will see one winged creature that is standing there that looks like a dragon. Some of them, their head is like a lion, but they have wings like a dragon. Those are the watchers. Those were the description of the watchers. What do they look like? They look like dragons, but they can shift and look like what? Are we seeing some connection? Can we go on? Now, let's now look at even history. The Asians, hope you know they are the ones that are very, you always see them dragon in their martial arts, in their this, in their that. Now, listen to what the Asians have to say about dragon. First and foremost, they believe that historically, their emperors, that's from China, they believe they descended from dragons. Are you seeing a link? Are you seeing a link? This one I need an answer. If not, maybe I should just pause or go back. Are we seeing a link? And that dragons are mythical beings that live. They also believe in the Chinese culture that dragons are guardian, watchers of heaven and earth. Are you seeing some similarity? Guys, are you with me? Now, even in Korea, they also suggest that their first Korean king, Dangun, are you even seeing from the word dragon, had a divine origin tied to a bear woman and a god who could transform into a bear and a dragon. Watchers, Anunnaki, Lucifer. Who else have I not mentioned? Draco Reptilian. Are you seeing some connection? Let's also now compare something. We know Anakim now. You should be used to Anakim. Now remember also Malakim. What did I say is Malakim? Malakim is the word for angel. What is Anakim? Anakim are the descendants. Now, according to Numbers chapter 2, is it Numbers chapter 2? No, Numbers 13:13. Anakims are a group of giants that descended from a guy called Anak, and that Anak is a descendant of one of the Nephilim. This is making sense to us. Now, Anunnaki, Anakim, Anunnaki, is that a coincidence? I don't think it's a coincidence. Now, these ones also, even though they are from Sumerian, whatever, they are also powerful beings. And they are created by Anu. Anunnaki is, watchers also are created by God. Could they be talking about the same set of people? Even though the dispensations or the years in which they are recorded is different, could they be talking about the same people? Your guess is as good as mine. Anunnaki. Anakim. There is, if you have a scientific mind, there are things already being very clear to you. Now I want us to look at this comparative anatomy. Now please watch this. The first one here, this is what a snake's skeleton looks like. The skull of a snake. Can we see it? Now in the middle is a normal human skull. Is there a difference? Now look at this skull. What does this skull look like? A normal human skull? What does it look more like? It looks more like what? Like a snake, Abi. Now, if we were to interpret something that looks like this and something that looks like this, will it look like this? Now look at this. Now, for those who don't know, the Egyptians also claim that their ancestors are extraterrestrials. In fact, the Pharaoh, if you look at him when they make the Pharaoh like a pantheon god, he has a crocodile head, Sobek. But before we even go to that, look at these two. What is similar? Shape of what? The headgear, thank you sir, looks like a king cobra. And please understand this, that anything you see, trust me, anything you see in history is not just good. It happened or is a reference to something. Are we getting my gist? Now, do you remember Jesus called some people brood of vipers? In fact, this translation says, you snakes, you offspring of vipers. How will you escape? I'm just giving out some thoughts in my head. Now watch this. This is an ancient Egyptian skull of one of the bloodlines of the pharaohs. What do you see? God bless you. Now, another thing all these guys have in common is that they all want to take over this world. You want to rule. You want to govern. All right? So the question to now ask is, where are they now? Are they dead? Are they invisible? Are they in heaven? Where are they? Please do not forget they are physical. Any guess before we go on? Where do you think they are?